Hey everybody, this is Richard for, Knights of the Braille, and as always, here with me is, Mr. Jesse. How we doing, Jesse?
Good, and surprisingly, I didn't talk again.
I know, that's really, really odd.
I really learned, I think.
I don't know about all that, but at least you've, started paying attention and not caring. Um, but, as you all have likely heard by now, um, Jim has officially backed away and stepped back from Knights of the Braille stuff. So, I am now your overlord and dictator. Friendly neighborhood
You,
Knights of the Braille
what do
person.
I need to change what I call you now? Like, can I still address you as Richard,
No,
or do I have to call you
you can
like
still call me
boss? Or
Daddy. You can still call me Daddy. That's fine.
oh God, I've never done that.
But
We have a
yeah,
very special episode today.
we do. But Jim has, stepped back, and we again wish him all of the best. He will still be around, doing stuff here and there, but I'm taking over a few more duties to help him out during the meantime. But as Jesse said, we do have some some guests on the show today that we're going to talk about. This upcoming Saturday will be the last Quest of the Braille for now. I do plan on continuing to do that. And forgive me for stumbling over my words. I just got through running about an hour and 10 minute or so session.
That was amazing,
Yeah.
as always.
But going to continue doing that here and there. But Jesse, introduce our guests for us.
All right, we are joined here today by two of the members of our current Quest of the Braille session grouping. We are joined by Sage and Dez. Sadly, Temple could not join us, but how are you guys doing?
Good, good. We
Yeah, pretty good.
just got done doing a very exciting campaign or first part of our Adventure Skeletons campaign. So I encourage everybody to hop back in your podcast feeds and check that out because that was a super fun time. Part two's coming next week, and I'm feeling invigorated right now, guys. I'll be here with King Richard and Jesse the Jester here.
uh, Except that I'm a
Adventure
lot
Skeletons is
funnier.
so fun.
Um, and I had to ask y'all for permission to do this, even though y'all were on the quest with us. Um, y'all, let's start with Mothership since we played that first. What were? I guess I'll start with Dez just because it's alphabetical order, and I think D comes before S. At least in my alphabet
Okay.
it does. Uh,
Yeah, you're right.
Des, what were your thoughts on Mothership? You had originally told me to scare the pants off of you, or else it wasn't going to be worth your time. So tell us what your thoughts were about it.
Yeah, man, Mothership was fun. It was definitely uh, a learning curve, just getting used to it because I've come from playing mostly D&D, and so just kind of like I think you have to roll lower than your total in D&D. It's all about the higher you roll, the better. So that was a little confusing, a little more of a learning curve than I anticipated it would be. But as far as like the actual story and narrative, I mean, it was. I thought the first few weeks were a little tame, but I think by the end it was pretty damn chilling, pretty eerie, and so I feel fulfilled that I went through with it. I
uh,
wanted something that was truly chilling, truly scary, because D&D, when I play Dungeons and Dragons, I usually play more for levity and fun. And so that I just kind of wanted to take myself out of that comfort zone, and you did a very good job
Appreciate
because
it.
I died.
That means a lot to me, and you died fairly horrifically, you know. And sorry for all the spoilers if you haven't listened to Mothership, but what am I talking about? You should have already listened to the Mothership session. So, um, as far as the D&D and Mothership aspect for you, Des, and I'm not saying one game is funner than the other, but the difficulty in remembering, I know it was for me, of having to roll under. and the
Yep.
stress saves. Once they really came into play, I think that's when the horror or the whatever you want to call it aspect of it really amped up. When you had to
Yeah.
roll the d10 for your stress points as opposed to me giving you one here and there.
Yeah, that's when it got a lot more because I think like one session I started with like 9 stress, and by the end I was at 19. And so it's just like, yeah, once you roll, and then once you get into the panic table, that's when things get really fun and crazy. Um, and that takes a little while to get there. But once you get there, I think it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. And Sage, or as I introduce you on the Adventure Skeletons, the lovely and intelligent Sage.
Oh, my title just keeps getting longer. I love that.
uh, so tell us your thoughts on Mothership.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was the first time that I've played well, at least in over a decade, TTRPG that wasn't just D&D 5e. So it was definitely different having that D10 system. I did think that it was really interesting the way that they handled criticals, that it didn't matter, if you rolled just over or just under, it was just if you rolled doubles. I thought that was super interesting and kind of provided more of a chance for those extreme measures to happen. Story-wise, it was great. I I was very surprised and also hurt by the fact that, multiple of my loving companions were gone. I definitely think my character would not be handling that well if we were to continue the story. So it was a nice, good breaking point for him towards the end there. And I had a lot of fun with it. I think that the system was really conducive to telling an intense story in such a short period of time.
I agree with you there, and Jesse, feel free to interrupt anytime. I mean, I know you
Oh,
know
I do
how.
enough of that, so I'm not going to do that.
I'm not trying to take control or anything, but uh, Sage, when it comes to the storytelling, I think it really flowed with Mothership. I mean, granted, we had a great group, which really saddens me that there's only one more session
I
with us for
agree.
now. But Sage, Jesse and I have talked about this. Would you all say, and Des, you can answer as well, that we all gelled like immediately? I mean, there was
I've never
no,
seen that, to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah, I do think that that was the case. I was looking forward to getting to try the new module with the same group today. There wasn't like any of that awkwardness where you're like, oh God, there's that one guy at the table that I just don't, like I could have a character moment with anyone. I could decide, well, Des isn't even here, but our characters are going to be lovers. Session 1, let's go. And they ran with it, and that was great. My character got to decide, well, you know what? I really like Sam. I'm going to defend Sam against everything. And Jesse was like, all right, cool. We're going to run with that. So to have that ability to just kind of throw anything out there and have everyone else just play off of it was really great. It's the first time I can think of that also that I've played with people that aren't my normal friend group. Normally, I run a variety of different campaigns with the same like 4 or 5 people. So it was nice to get to try it with an entirely new group and to just have that same kind of feeling of conduciveness to just whatever storytelling you wanted it to be.
right. A
Yeah, this
lot of camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody goes along with everything, like at the drop. It's like the whole thing with Sam, where Temple was like, "Oh, I want to see if I can make him evil." I'm like, "Well, I'll
Yes.
go with it." Like, it's
that was
nice
so
that
fun.
everybody goes with everything. Like everyone's like,
Mhm.
"All right, cool," it's fine with
Yeah.
me.
What
Yeah,
was you gonna say, Des?
even after session 0, I was like, man, I like everybody here. So like, I made sure I followed everybody on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't do that for everybody. Um,
Oh,
I need
but
to tweet more,
nah.
Same.
no, you don't.
Yeah.
other
I've
than my Goodreads updates.
uh
I
That's all
forget that
Twitter
Twitter
is.
exists a lot, and then I come and I remember for like a week, and then I forget about it again.
yeah,
That's
so
the
me
best
now,
way.
now I've
Yep.
gotten
It's a
that
huge waste of time.
responsibility too. Um, question for you all really. Y'all were talking about the flowing with things that like say Jesse brought up with Sam, or that you brought up with Doctor Funtime. Do y'all feel that that's on the players to continue rolling with the GM to roll with it, or a combination of both? And I bring that question up because Temple at the end of last session after we stopped recording, thanked me and you all for rolling with the zany stuff that everybody or him specifically come up with. How do y'all feel about that? And Des, we'll start with you there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's on the characters to come up with with interesting relationships between themselves. I think that's what makes these games fun, is the cooperation and the collaboration of like how are we going to create the most interesting dynamics between the party, and then it's up to the well, in this case, the warden, to raise those stakes and complicate those things. And so, I think both groups have a very important role, and I feel like in this case, we introduced those things, and you did a great job of taking them further and challenging us with them. So I loved it, and so I think when it comes to that, both groups have a very important role, and it's up to both of them to kind of balance that together. That's the key to a really fun game, where one's not overpowering the other.
Exactly. And Sage, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a really collaborative effort. It's definitely up to the players to kind of make that connection between themselves and make sure that it's vibing with them as a table and that it's something that they can roll with. And then I really enjoyed having you as a game warden just also join in and just rolling with it. You would take whatever kind of vibes that we had with each other and just play off of them and make it a part of the story. I really enjoyed how collaborative that was. I wasn't sure how that was going to go, and I think with this group and with you running the game, it was really just something from everyone put together to make it that sort of experience.
Exactly. And Jesse.
I'm going to agree with both of them. I think part of it is collaborative as far as like the characters come up with how they're going to interact and how they will work together, their relationships, but then it's also up to the game master to build that into the pre-existing game. Like, oh, Sam's, just say for instance, Sam's friends with everybody, but trying to be wooed to the dark side by Temple's character. So I'm going to come up with situations where we'll test that. Has Sam moved any closer to the dark side? Is he still fighting it? Like, I think you have to come up with the first part, the characters do, and then the GM or warden or whatever you want to call them, has to build that into the framework of the existing game.
I think a lot, and it's what I try to do whenever I run games, is I try to pay attention to my players. And Jesse can attest to that because he's played in the group for a long time. And Sage and Des
Been
here,
there since the beginning.
yeah. And Sage and Des, you know, not as much, but y'all played in the group, up until now. I try to listen to my players, what they like to do, and whether I like it or not, it's not about me, it's about you all. So I want to make it fun for you all. And according to what y'all said, except for Temple, because, we don't usually believe what he
Hey,
says anyway.
hey, hey,
Uh,
hey, hey, hey.
but it means a lot to me whenever y'all say that I accomplish that, because it's totally different sitting on this side of the table as opposed to the player side.
I
Um,
I
Go.
think something I want to say too, especially with this group, is sometimes you might not always be, when you play a game, into like, oh, here's this person's part of the story, what they're doing, and if it doesn't involve you, or at least I'm that way, you kind of zone out a little bit. But with this group, I didn't care if Sam was on, quote unquote, on screen or not. Like, I was into what anybody was doing,
Yeah.
which I feel like is rare.
Unless you're like Sage, because Sage and I play in a play by post group, and she's all into the whole Ozan storyline too, so she keeps up with that. While me, on the other hand, while I am interested, don't get me wrong, I know my mentality, and I know I'd accidentally say something that I should not know about. It's not that I don't care, but I know how I write and how I play, and I'd accidentally say something. But I agree. I mean, and while you're running a game, you're concentrating on everybody, But for y'all to say all that y'all said means a ton to me. Um, but as
The
far
other
as
thing that you're good at, another compliment I'm going to give you, because you always say that I'm mean and make fun of me and stuff like that.
you are,
You're very good at giving everybody ample time. Like no one ever overshadows anyone else, I don't feel, in any game you've ever run.
and it's like you don't want to cut people off, but you want to give people time to get their expressions out.
Yeah.
And I try to sit back and let y'all role play because, like I said, it's y'all telling the story. I just guide here and there.
Yeah.
As far as like Mothership, just in and of itself, would y'all say it's a fun game? I mean, me running it, I loved it. I'd love to play in it, but I think it's a really fun game to run. What do y'all think?
I enjoyed it. I had fun with it.
I
But I
love
feel
the I love the sessions. Like I love playing with you guys. What I did not particularly enjoy was the in between time, like tearing up my characters, just because the process was not I feel fully accessible. Like I definitely did utilize Sage's help a lot um to make sure that my tiers were correct and my levels were accurate. So I don't know if it's on maybe the company to kind of find a more streamlined way of accessifying their PDF or something.
Yeah,
But that's got some that if I had to point out one thing from the game that I did not enjoy, it would definitely be that aspect. But other than that, I mean, I had a really fun time actually playing the game once my skills were distributed properly.
and I know that this is zero E. They're coming out with one E, and according to Sean McCoy, who is like the publisher or the creator of this, they're going to include accessibility with the next one. But Sage, what did you think overall about the game, being our lone sidey of the group?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely fun. I can see where there were certain accessibility issues. I'm really glad that they're working on a way to solve that. With it being the first game that I have played with anyone who was visually impaired, I can say it's not something that I necessarily would have paid attention to before, and that I feel like now is something that I'll look at going forward when I'm looking at what games I'm playing, because that tier system, the way it was written out, really was just here's a chart, and if you can't see it, then you don't know what it is. Which was rather unfortunate. Of course, I don't mind helping people. I'm glad that we were able to get through that, and I do hope that it improves in the future. With that aside, the game itself, I think, was really fun to play. I did enjoy the difference where you had to be rolling under something instead of over. I thought that that was really interesting. Having the D100 base system was really cool. I think it kind of offers, I know that like when you get down to the nitty gritty, the probability is probably the same, but it just feels different rolling it on a D100 instead of a D20. Um, and it's a little bit easier to kind of understand D100s just because 100's a good number to base things off of.
Yeah,
So I definitely enjoyed it.
it's a
The
big
panic
dice to
effect was
hold.
my favorite.
And
Oh yeah.
D100 is a massive size dice to hold and roll. I'm telling you. Uh,
Yeah.
but we also just finished another game or session of this game called
yes.
Adventure Skeletons. It is a free one-page RPG, 1 to 2 pages. When it's converted out into a Word document, it may be 2 to 4, somewhere along in there. But it's free. All you have to do is search and find it, or I have it on the Knights of the Braille Discord and the Accessible Books channel. Sage, since we haven't really started off first with you, what did you think about Adventure Skeletons?
Oh, I adored it. I thought it was so much fun. I didn't really know what to expect going into it, and it honestly it's what I love in a game, you know? It's silly role play. It's having so many different options for how you want to do things because you don't have, with D&D there's kind of that standard like okay, this is probably going to be a medieval type feeling and there will be dungeon exploration and it's kind of like outlined, not strictly, but there's a general outline to how things would typically go. And with Adventure Skeletons, I really think that just the premise of being a skeleton running through a town on its own is just crazy already. And then when you add in the personalities of players and just, I adored all the characters that we made. It just made for a very comedic adventure, which was something that I think was definitely needed after the heaviness of Mothership and after how spooky that got. It was nice to just have something that was pretty much just chaos. Planning to, take over a Taco Bell is very interesting. Very fun.
I
And
really loved just based on the dynamic of our party, it very much gave me a what we do in the shadows kind of vibe. I don't know if anybody
Yes.
watched that show,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
so that's kind of where I started to kind of okay, I get this, and it was so much fun. And maybe another party will have it be a little bit darker. I'm not sure, but this was great. I really enjoyed the fact that I really didn't even have to reference a character sheet to play. It was really just let's role play it, and then every so often the DM will come in with, let's do a quick roll on this just to see if we're gonna, get challenged or not. And it was super fun. I really had a really good time, and I'm looking forward to the next week after the cliffhanger. Again,
Yes.
check out the episode for more.
and Jesse, I mean, I know you've given your opinion before.
Yeah, everybody knows how much I love Adventure Skeletons. I feel like, and I've been lucky enough to be in groups, this group and the weekly group, where the dynamics are good. But I could see this not being fun if you just join like a random group that's going to run a session. Like it's best for people that have camaraderie in other games so that they can play off that a little bit. I think it would be hard to do it with just like a random party of people like, oh, I'm going to do a one shot of Adventure Skeletons, but just advertise it on Discord like that could go. I just feel like really wrong, but it's an amazing game. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I love role playing Bart because I've been Bart every time we played, and I've changed them up a little bit. This version of Bart is my favorite, even though the voice. Thank God I had pot or water there. The voice killed me.
I love the voice. That was such a great voice. I was thinking of doing a voice like that, but as soon as you did it, I was like, I'm not gonna challenge that.
And
It, yeah, it ran roughshod on my throat. I'm glad we have a week till next session, but
and as for me running it, I came up with the adventure whenever we were sitting there. Um, because I asked everybody, you want modern, you want medieval, what you want,
I feel like
and
modern's the best for this game, just because like the skeletons can be modern, medieval, but the setting should always be modern. I feel like.
Hmm.
it fits in anyone. The first one I ran, y'all were like medieval,
Yeah.
you know, but it's super simple. It's basically your sandbox game. Let the characters make the decisions and roll with it. It's a great improvisation game.
Yep.
I love to run it. I don't know about everybody else. I could see it being a campaign because I was thinking about that during the session today. Like, yeah, they could take over this Taco Bell, and then they
Yes.
move to the other Taco Bell and
Oh
take
yeah.
it over.
I'm just going to say it. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I'm in for that.
Uh,
Yeah.
Just throwing it
That
out
sounds
now.
great.
I'm pretty in for that as well. That
I
sounds
mean,
like a lot of fun.
I can honestly see that happening, and you know, I know this podcast is getting towards our
Oh, we have
limit.
guests though,
Yeah,
so
but yeah, so if you don't like it, then hit the stop button.
Eh,
I'm in charge now. But
right.
The power's already getting to your head.
yeah,
I'll keep them in line, people. Don't
All
worry.
right.
no, he won't. Because I'll just ban him. But um, Des and Jesse's played in my groups before, so we know how he is. I think this is, other than the play by post that we did, was the first lengthy time that you played as me as a game master.
Yeah.
How was it for you? Because I'm all about constructive criticism, to make my craft better. How was it for you?
Well, I had no hesitation coming into it because I'm very comfortable with you. Like you said, we played a lot during our play by post campaign, and during that campaign, I was like in your inbox like every morning asking you questions about the rules and the mechanics. So we were pretty familiar with each other. So when I heard that you were running the campaign, I was like, dude, this is like a not even a thought, let's do this.
Right.
And I was not disappointed in the least. We've played before, I think, both as characters. I think we played D&D for a little while together,
Yeah.
and so I'm familiar with your character work. So you go all out for your characters, and that was definitely the case with this game with the different voices that you used for Mothership and for today's Adventure Skeletons. So that was fun. And then, as we talked about earlier, just in terms of knowing when to up the ante and knowing when to just let the characters um, lead the story and be in charge, you do a really good job of walking that.
Thank you, sir. And Sage, being our sidey, and I think you and I have talked before that you like the maps and the tactile kind of
Mhm.
stuff and scene stuff. How was it for you playing with someone like me who can't see, and us using theater of the mind? How was that for you being sighted?
Yeah, it definitely went better than I thought, because I am someone who is used to getting to see battle maps. I have mild aphantasia where if I try to imagine something just based off of words, the picture doesn't always form in my head. So I was a little bit concerned going into it. But when it came to actually playing it, I feel like possibly just because, I'm playing with people who are used to having to find accessibility, I found it very accessible. I didn't have to constantly be like, okay, well, am I close enough to do this? Is this person in my way? Like, I think that, and I don't know if it's just, how the game is. I think it's just having you as the game warden made it that way, where I didn't have to necessarily worry so much about making an exact picture in my mind and having all those different super tactical decisions. It was more of just a, hey, can I hit this guy? And you'd say yes or no.
Yeah.
Which was great for me. I really like things like that. I think that if you're looking for a very tactical, like extremely nitpicky thing, then maps are a great thing to have. But I didn't have any less fun not having the maps and being able to just imagine like, all right, yeah, I think I can hit him, and just asking like, can I shoot my laser cutter at this guy? And you'd say yes or no. It didn't detract from the game at all for me, which was really great.
Awesome, and that means a lot to me because I mean I've had a sidey, and that, as I call people, a sidey,
We've
and
had our token sighty since day
yeah,
one.
and he's cool with it and says I've done a good job, and I promise you I'm not trying to toot my own horn or get y'all to toot it. You all know me well enough to know better than
Mhm.
that. But it helps me to learn if I need to do something different, if I am doing good enough, if I need to improve, or because anybody who's ever run a game knows that you're constantly trying to do something to keep your players' interest, to keep the game fun for them, and for y'all saying that y'all had fun means a lot to me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Really just a basic question. Of the two games, Mothership or Adventure Skeletons, what would y'all rather play?
Treasure Skeletons. Not because I don't like Mothership, but just I love Adventure Skeletons because I'm zany and it's zany.
Yeah, and there's no
But the
there's
horror
no
fan in me would say the other one.
and there's no wrong answer. I'm just looking like strictly curiosity's sake.
You know what? I'll say in terms of what game I would like to play is definitely Adventure Skeletons, just because the work involved is so minimal to get started.
Yeah.
But actually, as a game that I would like to watch others play, would definitely be
Yes,
Mothership.
I agree.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that.
And what about our lovely, intelligent, and what was that big word we used to use? Transcendentalismness or whatever.
Transcendental. Yeah, I'll take
Are
it.
you familiar with the works of Henry David Thoreau?
No,
Um,
I know he was a poet. I don't know if I've ever read him.
I know
yeah,
Edgar.
he was a person that existed. That's for sure.
No,
Uh,
I know that. I'm just saying I don't can't point out one of
uh,
his poems, but I know he's a poet.
I know Dr.
You know he
Yeah.
meant
Seuss.
something
That's
because he
about
had
it.
3 names.
I know Dr. Seuss. That's about it.
um, yeah, I kind of agree with the general consensus where I think I would rather play Adventure Skeletons. I think that it's a lot of fun and it's just I love the vibes specifically with this group. But I do like Mothership as a game. I think I would watch streams of
Yes.
that, but I
Yep.
would
I
Yeah.
play
agree.
Adventure Skeletons.
Yep.
Yeah. Um. Well, anybody have any lasting comments before we close this out?
If you got any streams of Mothership that you want to send our way, please do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there actually is a lot of them on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I listened to a couple of them and then thought, because I wanted to figure out, well, how can I run this? And such a welcoming community that they have, people helping out and stuff. And I listened to several, episodes and realized I'm not going to run it the same way that they run it. I run stuff differently. Just like Dungeon Dudes, I love their work. Haven't listened to them in a while, but I don't run the same kind of campaign that they do. Mine's can be a little bit more lighthearted, and Jesse plays in the one on Wednesday night where I've changed how to
Oh
hit.
my God, is that great? It's basically a fantasy game. Well, everybody that listens knows, but it's basically a fantasy game with lit RPG elements. Like myself, I've been thrust into this game, but I'm playing a character that I created.
Yeah, and I've talked with Sage like in our play by post group, and really really touted how much fun Adventure Skeletons was. So
Mm.
I'm glad that she jumped in with this group for one. Meant a lot to me because we've known each other what almost 6 months now, a little bit longer than
Yeah, it's
that
been a
maybe.
while.
And she hasn't like cussed me out but twice so far. So yeah,
That's more than I have. I think it's because I'm afraid she'll yell at me.
you should be. But whenever I asked in there if either of them wanted to play, Sage immediately jumps in. Yeah, I'll play. You know,
Yep.
um,
I love TTRPGs, man.
she's a nerd too. So, and I mean that in the sweetest compliment out there, because we all are. But we all get
Yep.
along. Thank you all for joining us here. Des, is there any ending comments that you have?
I
It
just want
doesn't
to.
matter. Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
That was great. I love that. Thank you.
But seriously, any ending comments that you have, sir?
I just want to thank everybody for listening and enjoying the show and supporting Knights of the Braille. If you are at all interested in what I'm doing, I just started my accessibility consulting business. There's nothing I love more than getting on Zoom with a sighty and explaining to them why their website is terrible. So if you got a website that you need some help with, or you just want to learn more about what I do, my website is delgadilloaccess.com. And just keep that in mind if you ever run into a website that is a little less than desirable.
Excellent. Sage, is there any ending comments that you wish to say?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to thank all of you guys for playing with me, of course, and everyone who's listening for listening to my first adventure with Knights of the Braille. I definitely encourage anyone who is on the fence about trying out new formats of TTRPG to go ahead and just give them a shot. You might find something that you adore, like Adventure Skeletons. I can't wait to tell everyone I know about this game.
I
So
know, same.
yeah, thank
And
you
it's
guys.
free.
Thank them. It's free. I'm gonna play it with everyone I know. So
Well, make sure you invite me, so because I,
oh, I
I I
will.
just want to play one time. Uh, and Jesse, is there any lasting comments that you'd like to say?
Nothing really. Just thanks Des and Sage for being part of the group. Thanks for being a blast every Saturday. And Richard, I know you said we're all nerds, but are we really all nerds if one of us, well, I don't know about Des, but one of us in particular, you doesn't like Doctor Who?
Ooh,
Yeah,
oh, that's just insulting.
you're still a
Oh my
nerd.
God. We
But
I'm
we got to do a
offended,
whole other
Richard.
podcast. Why don't you like Doctor Who?
I never
Did
got
you
into
try
it.
it?
Yeah,
Did you
We need a
try?
whole
yeah.
other episode.
And it
Yeah.
could be that I don't watch a whole lot of TV anyway. So,
Okay, so Knights of the Braille listeners, your task, should you choose to accept it, is to send Richard your favorite Doctor Who
Doctor.
episodes.
Yeah.
Go.
Blow up his Twitter mentions. I will personally suggest Blink
Oh,
and
you've taken mine already.
by all
and the Angels
means,
Take Manhattan.
tag
Yeah,
me.
So,
he needs a Dalek episode. I have a Dalek tattoo on my ribs. I'm very dedicated to them.
ooh, what's your favorite Dalek episode?
By all
Oh,
means, tag me, mention me, because there's a
there's
blocked
so many.
button. You know, um,
Oh my God! Now you're the boss. Now you're gonna block our
Yeah,
listeners and
wow.
our
uh,
people.
Richard.
my
Yeah,
goal has been
there's another
achieved.
popular blindness company that's been doing that this week, but I won't say their name on your show to not get you sued.
Really, you'll have to tell us that
Yeah,
after
I,
recording.
I've heard bits about it. But
Oh,
that has been this episode with the guest for Blind Nights. And before I hit the end record button, this is something that I want to ask this group here particular. Would you all be down for maybe once a Saturday or one Saturday a month? Um, or so us getting together and playing like a one shot or you know doing a mothership one shot or something along those lines.
I'm gonna say
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm gonna say like 90% probably yes. Just be we'll talk
Well,
about it, but I'm gonna
yeah,
say
Yeah, I mean as long as we can all get
it'll
together.
be a problem at football season for me, but
Oh yeah, me
other than
too.
that,
Unless we
okay.
do it
oh,
like in the morning times.
I'll be
Um,
extra free during football season.
Me and Dad's are no longer friends. He's getting banned from Knights of Braille too. So, uh, just kidding. But yeah, we'll talk about it so we can keep the quest of the Braille going. And who knows? We may rotate who runs a game if Sage is up for running one every once in a while.
Oh,
Uh,
I can certainly try. I have never run a game before. You guys can be guinea pigs.
oh really? Oh,
Yeah.
you get the first one then. Um,
Oh.
Yeah.
But thank you all, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart for y'all allowing me to be your game warden, game master, your host, whatever you want to call it. Thank you all for tuning in, for playing, and yeah, we'll see you next week.